everyone, my name is María Camila Pulido, and today our topic is press freedom in Turkey. As some of you know, Turkey is the #1 country with imprisoned journalists in the world. Here we have one case of a journalist called Can Dündar, who was attacked and later was imprisoned because he told that the government was selling weapons to Syria. So, let's see our agenda for today. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about the context of Turkey and why does this happen. Then, the questions that I did. Later we're going to talk about the answers, and at the end I will tell you my conclusion. So let's begin. Some of you may ask yourselves, when did this begin? Well, it started in 2014 when President Tayyip Erdogan came to power. As a conservative Democrat with extremist ideas, he began to close most of the independent media, and not only that, a pro-government conglomerate became the one who owned most of the media in Turkey later. So, in this presentation, I chose to picture him as a very vain president, like many others in the world, that really cared too much about what the press and the media tells about them. So let's continue. As I told you at the beginning, Turkey is the #1 country with imprisoned journalists, and in 2018, 250 journalists were imprisoned in the world. 20% of them were Turkish. And Turkey, next to China, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Eritrea, some 70% of prisoners that are journalists in the world. Now let's explore the questions that I made for these presentations. What efforts have done organizations and institutions in order to defend Turkish media? And number 2, are there any independent media in Turkey? How do they work? Well, I found very interesting ideas and very interesting proposing from institutions. For example, the European Federation of Journalists created a space that was called "Send a Letter to an Imprisoned Journalist in Turkey." And what they wanted is to pressure the government with all of this campaign of people writing a motivational letter to journalists. And that quite worked. Also, we have from the International Press Institution the page called I Subscribe, where the few independent media that still exists in Turkey receives help from all people around the world who subscribe to their page, and they can see their content and independent content, right? Now, for the second question, I found 2 newspapers online on Rencel Virgon. These two have the help of the page that I already mentioned, that is I Subscribe. People access to these pages, make a donation, and help them keep producing information. They are both left-wing media, yes, and of course independent. In the case of Revenso, they struggle a lot with limitations because many people that belong to their team were imprisoned. And not only that, the government made an economic embargo to them, so they had to struggle with all of that. But with international help, they continue to work. So now, my conclusion. As we know, Turkey's situation has been really harsh during these years. Nevertheless, international cooperations between media and organizations has helped them to continue to producing information, not in a big amount, but still, and still independent. They choose this profession because although they have many risks, they know that journalism is a very important role in society. Thank you very much.